All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Cindy Rogel, and this is my colleague Carlos, and we
Hi,
will be. Oh,
hi everybody. I'm Carlos Hernandez. I'm currently SHIP Oregon VP External and incoming SHIP Oregon President.
yeah, and we will be talking about maximizing member retention and engagement.
So, just as I stated, incoming SHIP Oregon President. There's my LinkedIn if anybody wants to add me. And just a little bit about myself. I've born and raised here in Portland, Oregon. I'm an alumni of Portland State University. That's where I got my bachelor's of mechanical engineering, and I'm currently working as a substation design engineer at an electrical consulting firm. Some of my hobbies include following many of the general sports that and trading for marathons right now.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cindy Rogel Vaina. I am originally born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm an alumni of Arizona State University, and I originally got my bachelor's in material science and engineering. And I used to be the student chapter's outreach director, VP external of industry, and president. And I moved here to Oregon to work with Intel, continue working with Intel, and now I work in Wet Edge in high volume manufacturing and test development. And of course, I joined the SHIP Oregon chapter, wanted to continue my professional development, so I acted as the former VP of membership and now secretary and soon to be treasurer. All right, let's start with engagement. So when you start creating your chapter, think about surveys. Um, We categorized everything in our surveys under the groups socials, outreach K through 12, outreach college students, and professional development. And we found that we can't read members' minds. And so we want to communicate with them. What events are you interested in? What are you looking forward to? And we found that our members really do love socials and it kind of gives them energy back. And so having this data and kind of understanding what we could improve on really helped us launch our new executive board terms, especially because our terms are every 2 years.
And now it's time for the CMT. CMT is really, really important to use as a tool rather than something that you actually have to get done. Your team is really vital. The strength of your chapter doesn't come from one person. It really comes from alignment and a shared purpose. So you really have to take time to review your SWOT analysis and your CMT together in a dedicated meeting. And that's not just during general board updates. This is really where you figure out everyone's ethos and make sure everybody's rowing in the same direction. So you have to ask yourself, what's your team goal? Does your SWOT reflect everyone's contributions and challenges? And presidents, this is a great time to get to know your board's why. And why did each person join? What do they want to get out of their position? What do they want to give in their position? And that's really how you make sure that SMART goals are meaningful and not just check boxes. So it's really important to lead with empathy and create a culture where feedback flows both ways. So talk to new members, try new ideas, and be open to shifting if something's not working out because sometimes people come in from different parts of the country and did different things differently at their chapters and or at their companies or whatever, and new ideas are really important to introduce and try. So next, we have our CMT based on a survey that we planned. And so, sorry about that. So here's what our CMT came up with. So it's really important to use the CMT and make sure that planning really becomes real. So based on what your board discusses, we really aim to do based on what your board discusses. So we aimed to do one social event, either a professional development or an outreach event per month. So that was shown here on the right. And around July or August, we blocked off time to lay out the whole year. We used our CMT to look at what types of events made sense in which months, and also considered our team's own bandwidth depending on upcoming PTO or vacations, or also, I mean, some companies have really busy Julys or Novembers or whatever. So it's important to have those kind of scheduled in there. And that calendar you see is what came out of that, color coded and clear. It helped us catch gaps early, stay balanced, and make sure we weren't overloading one month or forgetting about the next. And the biggest lesson is to plan early. So that way you're not rushing later, and it gives your board ownership in that process, and it leads to stronger commitments within the chapter and the board, and also it's also better execution.
So as Carlos mentioned before, we color code our event categories because we found visually seeing what we're doing each month kind of helps understand why is our board so tired. We kind of plan around annual events. So if you're gonna have a pumpkin patch, obviously you can do that in October. Um, we also have the Bomba Blast, where our professional development is really brought up center stage. So all our professionals volunteer to help out the students every year to get prepared for the national convention. All right, leadership dynamics. So when you're looking at your board members, you want to understand their strengths. What do they unknowingly not know they're good at? And you want to use those skills. And also investigate why they came into the board. Are they looking to develop more social skills, more technical skills, more team lead, being a team member, team player, help them develop those skills so that way they can use that in their professional development as an engineer. We have social norms in our board meetings, so there's always an agenda. We found that having one icebreaker in the beginning really does help foster kind of in a community of getting to know each other, especially when we're meeting online. That's how our board meetings are formatted. We also first bring up event planning, and then we bring board members individual updates. Each board member can talk about a project that they're taking up or something that has a little bit of crossover with another member. And we also have action items after every single board meeting. It kind of helps everybody remember what they're supposed to be doing in the 2 weeks that we're not going to be meeting. And of course, board leaders' priorities should be find your successor from day one, be able to verbalize the value of your role, and also please attend the CLP and President um, Summit. There's a lot of good information and also great friendships that are built. And all these people are passionate about the same thing and creating amazing events and meeting new people. So having that network really will help you succeed in your role. Of course, this is my recommended agenda template. I usually leave the event names, descriptions, date, time, link, place, parking, and if a member has a concern, they can reach out to someone on the board through email. I found this really helps, especially because I want to keep everybody accountable. I know a lot of times they're like, I want to do something in April. Okay, when in April? Give me a date and time so that way we can get something on the calendar. When I'm doing outreach events, I'm a little bit more purposeful. So I put who's attending specifically from the board. Next, what materials do we need to get? What city is it in? Because some cities can be hours away. And also, where are we posting this? Are we posting this in other neighboring ERG Latinx organizations? Are we posting it on our Instagram, LinkedIn, and are we making sure to post it on our calendar that we have publicly for SHIP Oregon? And of course, I always add event summary and lessons learned because um, I need that for the CMT, and therefore adding it into the agenda kind of gives everybody a reflection period after each event. We also found that when we're planning outreach, we have a lead. Can be the outreach director, can be someone else he trusts, or just a general member that volunteered because they really love that event. We found that 6 volunteers are best for 3 to 5 hour events, and I came into the board first with a group of ladies, lovely ladies, that we had a lot of problems being social and being social butterflies, and so um, I always made it an assignment for all of us to learn about small talk and what are effective questions to ask people to get to know them. And remember to take a lot of pictures and posts. You will need them for your newsletter and Instagram and LinkedIn. Also, another thing, um, I'm very connected to the community, and I know people that are part of the K through 12 and college student community. So I love sharing what resources are around the community. And so I created brochures in collaboration with the outreach director, and this kind of helps kind of have a all-in-one source of what information is relevant for parents, students, and college students. And I add chapter programs, national resources, so the virtual and in-person events, and local resources. Maybe our programs aren't the best. Maybe there's something else that is a better fit, and we want to be a path to that resource.
So next we have the agenda template for professional development events, and it's a simple template that we use to plan uh, and make sure that things aren't really slipping through the cracks. And it's important to start with your board, who's attending, but who's representing Ship Oregon that day, and make sure that materials are ready ahead of time. So for this type of event, it's business cards, sign-in sheets, swag, or printed agendas. If there's a sponsor or a collaborator, it's important to identify who they are and who's serving as our point of contact in case things go sideways or you can't get in through the building or things like that. It really makes um, it really smooth when it's time to hand off to the next board, and keeping track of that does as well. So also advertising is key. It's You want to make sure that the event is shared through work ERGs, Instagram, LinkedIn, and it's also added to your calendar. That cross-platform really pushes um, things to matter a lot. And then after your event, it's really important to do a quick summary, even if it's informal. What worked, what didn't, drop it in the CMT uh, and send it to the board chat. Lessons learned can be captured while they're fresh. It's much more smooth. And yes, so professional development doesn't really just have to be a panel. It can be collaborative, fun, and deeply valuable. And partnerships help make that happen. So next we have our agenda template for socials. And socials are your chapter's way of giving energy back to your members after doing, I guess, so many events. It's important to reset, have a chance to have fun, bond, and just enjoy being part of the community. So it's kind of like the fruits of your labor after planning. And it's also important not to reinvent the wheel, just tap into whatever's going on. What are people already celebrating or excited about? So in September, we do Hispanic Heritage Month or El Grito or whatever type of events going on. In October, we do pumpkin patches, fall vibes really work well. And November, it's Friendsgiving, and December, Posadas or other winter holiday traditions. For us, it's really important to tap in those fall months, October, November, December, not just because those events are usually when we bring community together with posadas and Friendsgiving, but it's also really lonely up here in the Pacific Northwest and during those winter times, fall times, because the sun sets down like at 4 p.m. And if you're new to the state or to the city, like Cindy from Arizona coming to Portland, it's a really big change. And if you don't know anybody, it's really cool to have that community that you're used to Ship as a professional chapter or from a sunny state to another Pacific Northwest school or things like that make things casual or make it as themed as you want. It's really important just to create a space where people feel welcome and want to come back. So it's also really important to document everything. Like I said, lessons learned. It's time for those soft skills. Make sure to have those at the end of the meeting and just write something down, even if it's quick. It's better to have it while you're fresh on the event, and it's it's best for documenting as well. So also when you're thinking long term and passing the baton, and supporting each other, it helps the next waves of officers succeed. Next, we have retention.
Awesome. All right. So I'm the secretary of SHIP Oregon, and I do try to track the numbers. I track paid memberships, newsletter memberships, and LinkedIn followers. And that kind of gives me a metric of is all the work that the VP of communication doing, is that return on investment coming in? And so that really helps. I've also found tracking Instagram numbers assists as well, because we do tend to navigate people to that platform because it is most up to date. I have found that with paid memberships, a lot of the Fortune 500 companies pay for their dues, but we don't see them in our events. And so that is something that we'll talk about in the next slide. But I use each platform differently. Each platform has an ecosystem that you can take advantage of, and I really recommend sharing your pages to everybody. And we have a link tree that we share as well, so that way people can follow us and be up to date. So when I see new paid members on our Ship Connect, I always reach out with an email introducing myself, introducing the president, introducing the VP of membership, who is in charge of engaging with our members. I don't immediately sign them up to our newsletter without their consent. It is against the policy of MailChimp. And so I do just share the tiny URLs and that information of how they can follow us and our events. And if they ever need anything, to please reach out. We are a network and we do want to share our resources.
So create welcoming environments for members. So let's be honest, it's really hard joining a new space. It's oftentimes intimidating. And one way to break that wall is to make sure that your events are intentionally welcoming. So we found it super helpful to have at least 1 or 2 board members just act as unofficial social butterflies. So these would be people who float around, check in with new faces, and just make sure everybody feels included in conversations. Because oftentimes we tend to be a little bit more introverted, or even just going to the event was a lot of hard work for some people. So sometimes these social butterflies don't really have to be extroverts. They just have to be willing to ask good questions or carry small talk. And it's also a really important soft skill to develop. So if somebody is more introverted, it'd be really a good idea to have them start going to be assigned to this role and develop themselves professionally. And it's just as easy as Googling how to start small talk or an icebreaker question. So that's part of being a leadership too, and just creating a more welcoming environment. Next, we have leadership opportunities to general members. So one of the best ways to keep people engaged is to show them that there's a space for them to lead, even if it's not on their board, excuse me. Events leads don't have to be officers. If a general member shows interest, it's important to give them a space to help plan, host, or represent your chapter at an event. And during events, it's important to listen. If somebody says, hey, this was really fun, I'd love to help out with the next one, bring that up to your team. Literally tell them, hey, I think this person might be good for this next opportunity, and follow up with them too. So it shows that you're really paying attention to your board, to your community, and it helps build leadership pipeline without it feeling like it's too much pressure. It's really organic and it makes people feel seen.
All right. I kind of want to go back to communication, right? And details matter. When I was creating the newsletter, I went to the Ship National website and I found a branding package. And so I kind of used that to create templates that were ready to go to be implemented. Didn't have to create a new newsletter and put the logos in again. It was just quick and easy, and that really helped save a lot of time and mental workload. I also learned through working with the president different ways of addressing events and kind of prompting discussions. So LinkedIn, super duper professional. Instagram, we're very goofy and we put memes on there sometimes. Facebook, we get to the point. Newsletters tend to be very detailed, and I do go out of my way to kind of create buttons and also automatic buttons that will email a person for if they're interested in an event or hosting the event. And so that really does make everything look very cohesive, very clean, very clear. The Google Calendar is very detailed and connected to our website. So I have found that to be of great success, especially just being able to see everything being laid out for the month. And of course, we use Slack. We have a private channel as executive board members for our 2-year terms, but we also have different channels to engage with different members. And we always use National Convention, the Slack channel as well. And of course, on the right, you're kind of going to see March 2025, kind of a layout of all the events happening with SHPE Oregon. So I try to have all the information on there from the agendas. If there's a potential event or a potential date we need to reserve, I just have people put down to be determined potentially this event. It's better to have that date reserved and not have another person have another event. So we don't want like outreach and social to be happening on the same day. Also, I've worked with the VP of Communication to link it to the SHPE Oregon website, and that really does help create transparency. And we even have our executive board meetings and office hours on there, so that way, if a general member or someone super new to the state wants to be part of the board, all the information is there. And of course, transparency. Again, I have put all our board members as administrators and editors so they can change and implement and improve on the calendar if they so wish. I do tend to tell people who are creating events, please give me a 2 weeks notice. I need all the information, be the time and place, parking details, all that stuff, and a point of contact if I have any questions or if a general member has questions. And try not to overwhelm the calendar with too many events, because it can cause burnout. We do work a 9 to 5, so we have to take that into consideration. Another thing I learned when I was doing the newsletter for the first time, our president learned that Canva is free for nonprofits, so please take advantage of that. There's also something called a branding button. And so I'm not the best at design or aesthetics. So using that button to kind of make the colors cohesive and SHPE branded really does help and saved me a lot of times, especially when she's on vacation or can't help me right away. We also add QR codes and hyperlinks on top of the buttons on our flyers. So that way, there are many ways of registering for an event and learning more.
So as we wrap this up, this is what reflection looks like for us. Every year we learn something new and we grow from it. For socials, we learned to lean into cultural relevance. Events tied to Hispanic Heritage Month or community celebrations get the most traction. In outreach, especially the K through 12, we realized that we don't need to host something entirely from scratch. Instead, we've had success plugging into established events like our local community centers, OMSI, or events like Dia de los Muertos with tabling or activities. For college outreach, it's been more about collaboration, things like helping students prep for internships, national convention, regional conventions, and being there as a resource. So for more reviews or workshops for university chapters, and that's really, really helped those chapters. And in professional development, we've learned that online only didn't really quite land the way we hoped. So we're exploring more regional collaboration for online events and more in-person for touch points. And the list on the right, these are some of our anchor events that we try to lean into yearly. And if you're looking for inspiration or places to plug in, this is a really great place to start. So we don't really do these alone. We partner, we share the load and amplify each other's efforts as other nonprofits. So ultimately, this is really how you build momentum year after year. And it's by listening to feedback, trying new things, and staying grounded within your community. and being there as a resource. So thank you so much, and we hope that you learned something from our presentation.